Hello friends, Daniel Gurevich with you in Trakai Fortress. First time mentioned in late 13th century. This fortress was built by Lithuanian dukes, by Lithuanian people, to defend themselves against Teutonic knights. So today it's a museum. Now it's empty because of the situation, usually full of people. So what we see here is inside courtyard. There are two islands, this one and the smaller one. The older part of the fortress stands on a smaller island. It's a 3-floor building, and you can see maybe that the bottom part is original and the upper part is a renovation. So all this, all the walls, or almost all the walls, were demolished during the battles of the middle of 17th century and later on by the weather. And the big renovation was done under the Soviet rule in the very last years of the Soviet period in Lithuania. So Teutonic knights attacked Lithuania as part of the crusades to Northern Europe, and the Lithuanians were the only Baltic tribe who succeeded to fight back the Teutonic knights, and actually partly because they were good fighters and partly because they had a good system of fortresses, and Trakai Fortress was one of such places. Now today we stand here on a soil, but if we would be here 700 years ago or even later, we would swim in the water, because the level of water of the lake was almost 2 meters higher than it is now. So the water was up to the entrance to the fortress. Here we also can see that the central part of the fortress is a renovation. The central gate is a renovation, and the side parts, partly built of stone and partly brick built, they are authentic and original. Now, Trakai was one of 7 fortresses of Grand Duke Gediminas and one of the 43 fortresses of the Grand Duke Vytautas, his nephew. So in most of the writings about Trakai, you will find online that Trakai was one of the capitals of Lithuania. Yes and no. Capital city, Trakai wasn't a city. It was a small settlement. It had a fortress on the island. This is the uniqueness of this place. You can see water all around. And there are only 2 such places in Europe. One in Lithuania and one in Germany. And so Trakai was a small settlement, but still important for Lithuanians, still important as a capital. Later on, Vilnius was developed into a capital and Trakai lost its importance. Vilnius today is a city of 600,000 people. Trakai is 5,000 people, so remained a small but very cute and nice place with a museum, with an option to sail a boat or to take a yacht or to have to walk on a forest trail, or to go camping and cycling and paddling and all the sports activities. By the way, there is a big water sports center and base there, which attracts a lot of younger people during summer months. In winter, it's also very interesting to be here. Lakes, the water is standing, so lakes are frozen in winter, and people come to do skating or to walk on ice, to visit the castle and to have a glass of hot wine after that, or to have a tasty lunch. So all that is a big travel attraction. Today, people who live in Trakai, they mostly depend on tourism. activities, not much industry, as it's part of a national park. Actually everything is very ecological here, green, no industry or almost no industry. And also this place attracted and still attracts many wealthier people who can afford themselves a second house or even a third house. So they do have houses on the shores of the lakes of Trakai. And another important fact to mention is that Trakai itself has 5 lakes. This is the biggest one, Galvez Lake, and the Trakai area has over 55 lakes. To remind you, Lithuania has over 1,000 lakes, and this is the only number of officially registered lakes, and not smaller ponds, which are thousands and thousands of them. So we'll continue on Karaimų Street in a minute. And we are on a small square which is called by the name of Karaite leader Simon Firkovich. Karaites, they split from Judaism about 1200 years ago, and it's a long story of tensions and conflicts inside the Jewish community, inside the diaspora Jewish community. I'll tell you the story of Anan ben David and Anna Nitz and Bnei Mikra in a separate episode. But briefly, they had to leave Babylon, and they migrated from place to place and split into 2 groups. And one of the groups went to Egypt, and another group reached Crimea. In Crimea, the Black Sea, the Crimea Peninsula, they formed a big town which is called Chufut Kale. It literally means the Jewish fortress. And from Crimea, they spread all over the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Just to remind you that there was a period of time that Lithuania was a big empire from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. So Karaites, they followed the Jewish traditions, but literally following the Torah law. So if it says that you shouldn't cook wheel and mother's milk, it's only about the wheel, it's not about chicken and so on. So Karaites, they formed numerous communities in different parts of, let's say, Eastern Europe. And one of such big communities was here in Trakai. Now, this street is called Karaimų in Lithuanian language, or Karaite Street in English. And there is a certain similarity between the houses. On the ground floor, all the houses, they have 3 windows. And it's like a tradition, folklore thing and tradition. So one window is for the Almighty, another window is for the honored guest, and the third window is for the owner of the house. So Karaites, they kept the tradition of not intermarrying for a very long period of time. And this was one of the reasons why the community didn't expand so much. But finally, in the 20th century, there was actually no choice, and they did, let's say, assimilate with the Lithuanians. So today, there is a very small community, but still active community, and we are getting closer to their temple. Karaite temple is called in their language, in Krimchak language, Kenesa. Kenesa is very similar to Hebrew Beit Knesset. And it's not only similar in the name, it's also similar in the structure. So this is the Karaite Kenesa of Trakai, built about 250 years ago. It's a wooden building which was plastered later on. It has 12 windows, 3 on each side, which was very typical and traditional to the construction of the Jewish synagogues in Eastern Europe, actually in Europe. And the synagogues were built only for men, no women's section. Later on, inside the synagogues, also inside the Kenesa, they added women's sections, like a little balcony. So Actually, if you look at this building, it's very much like the Great Synagogue of Vilna, but smaller. So today it's not an active temple. They do use it on high holidays. Now Karaites, they follow actually Jewish holidays. This is a community center and a school, and a Karaite school, like a Sunday school where they teach their children some traditions. There were very few people in Trakai who still can speak Krimchak or Karaite language. There are a lot of Karaite businesses here. For example, here you can see Kibin Lar. It's a Karaite kitchen. Traditional Karaite dish is kibinai. Yeah, you can see here on this ad. So you see a Karaite family, brother and two sisters. He's the owner of the premise. So and these pastries stuffed with meat or vegetables or whatever you choose. This is a traditional Karaite dish which is called kibinai. So on Karaite Street there are many institutions, including a current school and a small Karaite museum, unfortunately closed at the moment. And quite a lot of people also live in these wooden houses. And it's very nice to be here, and it's very nice to meet some Karaites here. Although the relations between Jews and Karaites in Lithuania today are not very simple. Let's say they do remember the times when rabbis excommunicated them from the general Jewish community and didn't accept their ideas. So this is briefly about Karaite story in Lithuania, and thank you for watching this video. You can put a like, you can comment or ask questions. We'll do our best, and subscribe to Jerulita Travel channel. Daniel Gurevich was with you this time.